Alright guys, it is El Trader Goof coming at you again with another weekly watch list. So just a couple names that I'll be watching this week, of course, Um as always, disclaimer, I'm not professional of any sort. Always do your own DD. These are just ideas coming from me, from my point of view. Um so of course, let's go ahead and jump into it, guys. First one's going to be SLS, right? So we can see here. So one thing that did catch my attention on this is, so they do have a annual stockholder meeting coming up this Tuesday, right? The 17th. So that's one thing that caught my eye. And another thing that, as I was doing, my digging, is that someone did buy little Tingate shares, at the price of 140, right? So you got some insider buying into the company, right? So I don't know if that's something that they're buying into going into this shareholder meeting. So if things do go well for it, who knows if this thing goes, right? So that's one thing that we're gonna be looking at this week. We can clearly see here on the daily time frame that we've been on a nice little uptrend since we had this nice little pop above here, right? So back in April, we can see here, April 15, we got a nice little pop up, right? And we sort of maintained this, what is this? These 126s held roughly right there, right? And we can see also over here, before it acted as some area of resistance, right? So that resistance then became support over here, held nicely. So therefore I have my trend line drawn up here, because we can see how we've tapped here and tapped here, right? So still in a strong little uptrend, right? So overall, that is my overall trend here. For here, well, it's maintaining it. So as long as it maintains that, I'm still looking for a little pop here going into this week. If we can get a pop above that Friday high of 173, that would be ideally what we'd be looking at here into that pop, right? So if we do get that pop there above that, we want to see buyers, of course, confirm that momentum, that push up here, and go into it with heavy buying pressure, right, to the upside. So let's see, going into our 1 hour time frame, right? We can see on our 1 hour time frame, right? Thursday had a nice little rally to the upside. See there? Once we have held this 147, had a nice little rally. Buyers came in, and what is one thing that we can clearly see on this 1 hour time frame is that we got above our 200 EMA, right? So this green line is going to be my 200 EMA. We can see how on the hourly time frame Friday, we held respectfully above that 200 EMA, and as well as my 20 EMA, which is going to be this roughly purple line that you guys can see there, right? So with that being said, also you can sort of see how it just, sort of somewhat of a round there, respecting that 200 EMA. So that's what we're looking for here going into the week. When we see buyers just continue to hold up above this 200 EMA and get that pop roughly above that Friday high, you see, of that 173. We do get that pop above that, then next you would want to see buyers break above slightly this 175s. Get that break above that 175s. I do believe we can start to push up higher into these 180s here, guys. So that's going to be something that we are going to be looking at. Overall, we do want to see if we can test back above into those 212s here, if this annual shareholder meeting does go well. So that is what we're looking for here for SLS overall here. Now let's go ahead and dive into another thing that I'm also watching here is coin. Now coin reason being is because we can notice how before, right? In one of my earlier videos, I know it called this round top, right? This round top here played out perfectly, and now it just seems to be creating another round top, almost like if it were to be a inverse cup and handle, right? So, and with that being said, what do we see? We still have that daily gap here that needs to be filled to the downside, right? So, question is, going into this week, will this daily gap here act as a magnet to sort of have sellers continue to push this lower here, right? We can see here on Friday, the buyers came out on top, right? But overall, throughout that week, we didn't really see buyers that much until Friday, you see. So we sold off Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday had a green close, right? So that's one thing that we're going to be looking at here is, will we start to break down and start to fill this here, or will we start to see, buyers hold and respect roughly the bottom of this gap here, which is going to be these 231s, right? So will we see buyers respect and hold those 231s, 230s area, or will buyers come in and just push it to the downside, right, and fill this here? So you can see here, not much volume, right? Just mainly sellers. Yeah, you got these little big pops here for buyers, but not really much. So that's telling me we might be expecting a big move here, either to the downside, which, won't be surprised with this acting as a possible magnet, right? We can also see how the 200 EMA is in that gap area as well. So that's something that we want to also keep an eye out. If we go into our hourly time frame, a couple things that we will be looking at is to see, okay, are we going to sort of break below this 241 area, right? This is where I've got my red line here, that 241 area, to sort of target into Friday's low, right, of those 235s. You see those 235s is the area that we will be looking for if we do start to break below. And then if we do start to break up more higher, I'm looking for break above Friday's high, right? Break above Friday's high of 243.20. So I will go ahead and then test into this area of structure that I have drawn up here from 244.22. So that's going to be somewhere. That's going to be from one of my time frames. There we go. So we can see. So we can see this. So that's going to be based off a structure where we have had multiple points of resistance or support in that area. Oh, sorry. So there we go. So this is some things that we're going to be looking for. And of course, if we do start to break above higher of those 244s, I would love to see a nice little rally here up into 248s. And then if given up into those 250s, right? Because one thing also is there's a small little gap here in the pre-market, right? So that's that area of that 240 into that 250 that we will be looking at if we do see buyers come in. Next one that we will also be looking at is going to be Disney. Now, Disney, one thing that we can also notice on Disney here is that, man, Disney, from their earnings report from last month, the 7th, right? This thing has just been on a tear to the upside. And with that tear to the upside, we've created gaps up, that, of course, will have to be filled. But what's one thing that we always say is that gaps don't have a time on when they need to be filled, right? So, I mean, these gaps can be here for a year if they want, and we can just see Disney continue to rally higher and higher, right? Because overall, this week that just passed, we did create a new 52-week high of 120.50, right? So, with that being said, question is, will this week will we see a new 52-week high, right? So, and one thing that we can see here based off this daily time frame is this 5 EMA has been respected all throughout this push up. You see, we're staying above my 20 EMA as well, and that 200 EMA. You see that? So now we have more reason to believe, man, buyers are really into it. This so question is as well, will we see that push up to make that new high, right? So will we start to break above that and then start to test that current new 52-week high right up here? Because if we do ideally break above this 120.50, next area that I'm looking for is that 122.63. Why? Because that is going to be a high of, I believe, last year. So it's going to be the high of last year of March 28th. That was the high, right? So that's the area that we're going to be looking at to see if we do break above this current 52-week high of 120.50, where we start to chase March 28th of last year high of the day, right, which is 122.63. And if we do, hey, we can go even higher. So that's one thing that I'm definitely looking for Disney here. I'm very bullish on it going into this week. If we can just continue this higher, because it just seems like this just wants to continue up higher here, guys. Overall. So if we do, let's say, start to break below, right? If we start to break below roughly these 117.40s, those 117.40s, then I would start to go ahead, start to target into these 116s as a nice little put, right? So overall, now if we're looking for calls, ideally I want to see us break above these 118.50s. Sorry, these 118.50s, and nice little push to the upside, right? Because if we do start to break above those 118.50s, ideally what we want to see us is go ahead and test that 52-week, right, of 120.50, right? So that's what we're looking for here going into Disney, guys. And always remember that always do your own DD. These are just some ideas for you guys to, you know, go ahead, look into it, and sort of give you some insight on a couple things. Now, if you do want to catch a couple of more plays, I do suggest joining up into the Alpha Stocks Labs Discord. Of course, guys, we offer multiple things over there. And one thing, let's go ahead review a little some futures, right? So one thing is that with futures, one thing that I'm looking at for is going to be when we start to see more selling to the downside, right? Because overall for me on my daily time frame, I've got this trend line here, and we've just started to break below it, and that's one thing I'm looking for. Even on the 4-hour time frame, we've just started to break below this trend that we were into the upside. And with the whole attack that happened Thursday evening, going into Friday, it was just gave the market some reason to sell off, right? So if we see here on the 4-hour time frame, we sold off, went into Friday, we can see how now this area of trend line to the upside is now sort of acting as some type of resistance here in the futures market. So that's something that I'm also looking for here in the futures market. Is I won't be surprised if we do start to go ahead and start to test down into these 21,472s this evening when we do open up here, guys. So overall, guys, I'm looking for shorts here this evening for NQ. But overall, guys, thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for sharing. Thank you guys for liking. And as always, Have a blessed evening and happy Father's Day to those fathers out there, guys. Thank you.